welcome back to Stuart Arts. It's hard to believe, but the world's best MIDI-lathe working station is even better. And I have you to thank for it. I put out a video about a year ago on the build here, and I showed some of the features, and I asked for your comments on my design, and you gave me lots of comments. So I sat down and I brainstormed what I thought the best feedback and comments were. So I'm going to go over that in this video, and I hope you get a lot out of it, and I hope you enjoy it. The first item I'll cover here is the tool rack, and this is kind of a safety issue, and I got comments on this when I put the first video out, and if you watch that video, you'll see that I had the tools in this rack oriented with the tips up, and people commented that that's a dangerous situation and you're going to cut yourself. And it didn't take me long to agree with that. And so I thought, gee, what am I going to do different? So the only thing I did is I just put the tools in upside down here like this. And so I just gentle on it so I don't hurt the tips. And I just set them down. And so the rack is open on the bottom and I can see exactly what I need here. So all the tips go down, and I've eliminated that safety hazard. Are we having fun yet? So even though I have this rack back here with these tools, these are tools that I use a lot, but they're not the ones that I use the most. The ones that I use the most are the ones that I'm using for a particular turning that I'm doing. I like to have here just to the right of where the tailstock would be. And so it's very convenient. I can put them right here as I'm using them. And so this is kind of like my working stage area. And just a fine point, I had originally drilled some big holes all around the perimeter of this base here. And there's a little bit of a problem with that. Some of these gouges didn't want to stand up straight and they would flop over, and it was just a little inconvenient. So I ended up adding some holes that were just a little bit bigger than the gouge sizes, and so now they stand up nice and straight and they don't flop around. Weather permitting, I will take the lathe outside. I've got a roll-up door here and I will just wheel this out, and the mess is outside. It's a lot easier to clean up and it keeps my shop clean. So I put two wheels on the front of this, and then I would pick this thing up and just move it around. And that worked out real well, but it's a little bit awkward picking up on the edge of this with my fingers here. So I added a handle here, and so I can pull it out, and it gives me a little extra leverage. And now I can pick this thing up with one hand, and I can wheel it around. So I made it to where I can pull it out when I'm using it, and then I can slide it back when I'm done. So the broomstick is held in place with just a couple of conduit supports here, and that's got a loose fit there, and so I can slide it out about 8 or 10 inches, and what keeps it from coming out, I just put a screw in the end of this piece of wood here. So I painted it purple so that when it's out here, hopefully it's visually obvious to me and I don't run into it. Initially I used this desk lamp for my lighting, and it worked okay, but it was kind of in the way. It was bulky, and it also gave off a lot of heat, so I knew I needed to do an upgrade there. Here's what I'm using now. This is it's called an LED display light, and I was lucky enough to get a box of these at a yard sale for like 10 bucks. so this thing is only 5 watts, and look at the light that it puts on the work here. It's really perfect, and I can adjust it so that I can look inside of stuff I'm hollowing, and I can put it really wherever I want to. So I'm very happy with that. You got to admit, this is good stuff. I keep my chuck key tied to the workstation with a string here. My thoughts are that if I ever got it tangled up in the work, that the string should fail. But I had it over on this side near the tailstock, and I found that the string kind of got tangled up with the tools sometimes, so I relocated over here to the headstock, and that's worked out much better. Perhaps a minor point, but I found that I like to have all my tools over here on the right side, and on the left side I put smaller items here. You want to have a kind of a low profile on this side. You don't want things in your way. You can see where the work is, and you don't really want handles up getting in your way while you're trying to adjust your tool rest, etc. So I put everything that's low profile up here. Here's the chuck key. There's a Jacobs chuck key, the Jacobs chuck itself, I've got a worm drive, and I've got some drawbars and things like that. And another point is that when I change the pulleys, I have to open this door here, and so you don't want anything long on this side to be in the way of the door. I'm all the time changing the belt to a different pulley set, and there's a lever here that you pull down on the Delta, and it takes a fair amount of force to get the motor to ride up, so you loosen this, and then when you go to tighten it again, it takes a lot of force to get the motor back down again. So I cheat a little bit. I got this pair of pliers here, and I keep it on the tool rack, and it gives me that extra little bit of leverage to move that lever. Now I could probably make something that's a little neater, but I use this thing for other utility functions, like putting inserts in the chucks and things like that. So it's a handy little tool to have, and I keep it on the tool rack on the front of the lathe. Sometimes when you get turning, you have multiple tools and cords all over the place, and it became really clear to me that I needed to add a power strip. So my buddy Skip brought me this thing he was not using, and he helped me put it on here. And I plug all kinds of stuff into it, the light upstairs there, the lathe itself plugs into this, and then my sanders and things like that. So a great upgrade there. And here's a bonus tip. I just thought of this. I got these little magnetic dishes from Harbor Freight. I think they were free with a coupon any purchase, and they're great. I just stick this thing on the side of my headstock here, and like here's a centering bit there, and I'll just put drill bits and fasteners and things I'm using in there, and it keeps them from rolling around and getting lost. No extra charge. So is this not the best MIDI-lathe working station on the planet? I respectfully submit that it is. If you disagree with me, I sure hope you'll send me a comment and tell me what you think, and if you've got some other improvements, I'd sure like to hear them. And on a serious note, thank you so much for watching the video here, and thank you even more for all the great suggestions that you provided on my last video. They really helped me to improve my shop. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.